It was the kind of summer in Austin that people would talk about for years. The heat wasn't just a temperature. It was a physical presence. You could see it shimmering off the pavement, feel it clinging to your skin long after the sun had set. The nights were thick, filled with the constant electric hum of cicadas, a soundtrack to the sweltering days. This was the summer Daniel moved to Austin. He was a graphic designer, trading in his old life for a downtown loft with exposed brick and a view of the city skyline. He was drawn by the promise of live music, the vibrant art scene, and the endless breakfast tacos. But what truly captured his attention wasn't on any city guide. It was his neighbor, Miguel. Miguel was a bartender at a popular spot just a few blocks away. He had this easygoing charm and a smile that seemed to defy the oppressive Texas heat. A smile that could genuinely melt it. Daniel would see him coming and going, sometimes catching his eye and offering a quick, friendly nod. But their real story, their first proper encounter, was pure, unscripted chaos. It was a Tuesday evening, the kind where the air is too heavy to breathe. Daniel, in a moment of distraction, managed to lock himself out of his new loft. He stood there, keyless and frustrated, staring at the door that was meant to be his refuge. Just as he was about to give in to despair and call a very expensive locksmith, a voice cut through the stillness. Rough day. It was Miguel, leaning against his own doorframe, a knowing smirk playing on his lips. Before Daniel could even properly explain, Miguel was holding out a cold beer. "The locksmiths here take their sweet time," he said. "Might as well be comfortable while you wait." So they sat on Miguel's balcony, overlooking the hazy city lights. Sweat glistened on their forearms, and the cold bottles were a temporary blessing. They talked about everything and nothing. Daniel's recent move, Miguel's crazy work stories, the city they both were starting to call home. Laughter came easily, spilling into the humid night air, and for the first time, the heat didn't feel so suffocating. It felt ... different. Charged from that night on, Miguel became a fixture in Daniel's new life. It started simply. Miguel would get off his shift long after most of the city was asleep and find Daniel waiting. They developed a ritual: tacos from the 24-hour food truck down the street, eaten on Daniel's balcony. They'd talk for hours. Daniel would describe his latest design projects, his frustrations, and his small victories. Miguel would talk about the characters he met at the bar, the dreams he had of opening his own place one day. They argued playfully about music, Daniel's indie rock versus Miguel's love for classic soul. But underneath all the easy banter and shared laughter, something else was growing. It was a tension, a silent awareness that hummed between them, much like the cicadas in the trees. It was in the small things, the moments that lingered just a second too long. It was the way Miguel's hand would brush against Daniel's when he passed him a drink, a casual touch that felt anything but it. It was the way Daniel's gaze would unconsciously follow Miguel across the room. Catching the way he laughed, the way his eyes crinkled at the corners. They were orbiting each other, two planets caught in a gravitational pull, getting closer and closer with each passing day. But neither of them dared to be the one to break the silence, to name the current that was flowing between them. It was safer to stay in the comfortable realm of friendship, of being just neighbors. Then came the night of the storm. It rolled in without warning, a dramatic shift from the weeks of relentless sun. The sky turned a dark, bruised purple, and the wind picked up, rattling the windows. Suddenly, the power went out. The entire block was plunged into darkness, the hum of air conditioners replaced by a sudden, profound silence, broken only by the rumble of distant thunder. Daniel fumbled for his phone, using its flashlight to find the candles he'd bought for decoration but never used. He lit a few, and his loft was instantly transformed. The familiar space now filled with dancing shadows and a soft, intimate glow. Just as he was starting to settle into the quiet, there was a knock on his door. A frantic, hurried knock. He opened it to find Miguel standing there completely drenched. His hair plastered to his forehead, rain dripping from his chin onto the polished hardwood floor. He offered a sheepish, waterlogged grin. "Guess I need shelter from the storm," he said, his voice a little breathless. Daniel just stared for a moment, then stepped aside to let him in. He grabbed the nearest towel and handed it to Miguel. As Miguel reached for it, their hands brushed. It was a simple, accidental touch, but this time it was different. This time, neither of them pulled away. The silence in the candlelit room was suddenly heavy, thick with everything they hadn't said for weeks. The air crackled with more than just the storm outside. It was charged, electric, full of unspoken questions. Miguel was the first to break it. He looked at Daniel, his eyes searching, and his voice was barely a whisper above the sound of the rain. "Do you feel this too?" He didn't have to explain what this was. Daniel knew he'd been feeling it since that first night on the balcony, and his answer wasn't in words. His answer was a kiss. It was sudden and desperate, a collapse of weeks of restraint, a dam breaking. The storm raged outside, lightning flashing through the massive loft windows, illuminating them for a split second, then plunging them back into flickering candlelight. But inside, the world had narrowed to just them. They kissed like they had been waiting their entire lives for this single moment. It was messy and hungry, a mix of rain-soaked hair and the scent of ozone. Laughter mingled with breathless gasps. As the tension that had been building for so long finally found its release. It wasn't just passion, it was honesty. It was the two of them, in the middle of a blackout, finally letting their guards down and admitting what they both already knew. The morning after, the world was washed clean. The storm had passed, leaving behind a clear blue sky and air that felt fresh and new. The heat wave had broken. Miguel was in Daniel's kitchen, humming softly to himself as he brewed coffee, moving around the space as if he'd been doing it for years. Daniel leaned against the counter, a soft smile on his face, just watching him. He realized in that quiet domestic moment that the heat wave hadn't just been a weather phenomenon, it had been them. It was the slow burn of their connection, the simmering tension, the final explosive release. Miguel turned, catching his eye, and that signature smile was back, though it held something new now, something deeper. He slid a freshly brewed mug of coffee into Daniel's hand. "So, neighbors," he teased. His voice light. Daniel took a sip, the warmth spreading through him. He looked at Miguel, at the man who had turned his world upside down in the middle of a historic heatwave. "More than that," Daniel replied, his voice firm and sure. And there, in the heart of Austin, as the city woke up to a brand new day, their story truly began. It was a story born from the heat, forged in a storm, and it promised to be fiery and tender and completely unforgettable. Thanks for watching our story today. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that find love in unexpected places. Let us know in the comments what you thought. See you next time.